this time we did have a large number of new companies, and one of the strategies that proved to be very useful was that the SCPT applicants, right from the month of March last year, they were actually given assigned some tasks based on different aspects of this placement activities, and they started quite early, and close to 150 students actually participated in it. And so this entire process was actually used for selecting the SCPT team. So their actually activities actually helped us to add close to 50 to 60 new companies immediately in our database. And then besides, we did some database cleaning was done for removing all the because some of the HR contacts normally they get actually they are no longer active after some time, so they were all updated very carefully right in the month of April immediately. So that list was actually provided to the new team which was starting. So they started with a little bit of preparation, so that actually helped us. And
so as an SCPT, firstly what we actually did was, and what seniors was suggested was, we looked into the other companies visiting other IITs, like the top IITs, Delhi, Kanpur, Kharagpur, and looking into that we focused more on the non-SD roles, because Dhanbad has lot many companies visiting for SD roles, but we focused on that one, like APM, consulting and all stuff. And other one we looked into it was, as the Indian startups has seen the boom in funding in the lot much funding in the startup, so we enlisted the unicorn startups and focused on that, bringing those into the campus placements. So that was the initial things we did as an SCPT, and thereafter you can see the results you have seen.
One of the difficulties that we faced was we from this session only we started transition to the automation platform. So any transition from the manual to the automation, that created a lot of hiccups for us. So partially we could overcome them. So that was a tough time, because by that time the company registrations had started. So that posed a little bit of challenge for us, and because they were sending the data in time, because there were a large number of companies, especially in the month of first week of November it started. So that was one issue, and due to some circumstances there was certain changes in the office staff and as well as the CDC members. So that also, so about 2 to 3 weeks there was a transition when we had to train. The institute was also quite supportive in immediately supporting us with some additional manpowers. So but about 4 or 5 people were assigned to the office, and the faculty members also, the vice chairman also appointed that time in the month of November. So about 1 or 2 weeks we had that challenge of overcoming the little bit of transition problems. But which were overcome, and but incidentally the SCPT team, most of them, due to that was one of the pandemic time, still movement was not permitted. As a result, most of the SCPTs were actually at their home. So had they been physically present, things would have been definitely slightly better to manage. But then they worked hard, and the number, they were about 16 to 17 of them working. But at that time we were feeling that the numbers were not sufficient to handle the number of companies that started registering towards the end of October. And especially scheduling of the online tests and all, that what started in September, mid-September. Perhaps if it started a little bit earlier, we could have managed it in a better way. It was, the number of slots, scheduling them, and the companies were also, another problem that happened was the companies were also, this time they were more or less switched to automatic portals, and third parties were hired for conducting the online, because the entire thing had to be taken online. So some of them due to technical failures, the slots given were actually they couldn't actually they couldn't conduct the tests on those slots, so they had to be, and it disturbed the entire schedule, which had to be managed dynamically. So but somehow it was a team effort by all the SCPT members, because for every company we were assigning the SCPTs who were doing the facing the main interfacing. So they were actually aware of how difficult it had been at some times. So even in peak Diwali, my team was working. So they didn't even get the time to celebrate Diwali, because almost till midnight, 10 o'clock, at least till 10 o'clock every day, and classes were going on, quizzes were there in the midst of everything. Everything was going on, so they actually managed it quite well.
Basically, if we classified basically the problems which we faced, we could call it pre-day zero problems, and then during the day zero problem. So initially, what common fuzz was also there, that why certain companies have been given certain slots, which was a major problem we still faced. So the reason being, see, IIT ISM Dhanbad, as on the IIT rankings chart, yeah, it's good, but still it has places to go. And this was the only year that we were competing with the top 4 or 5 IITs. So what happened is that initially we did not had companies registered on our CDC portals and on our side. In the last week of November, we had companies registering them, conducting their OLTs, and significantly that interviews were also scheduled on day 1, December 1. So this chaos which was created, and the thing was that we couldn't just send them back. Like, we had to accept them because they were big companies offering data science roles and non-code roles basically. So to accommodate that some minor slotting changes were there. So we were only given the option by the company that either you choose this slot or we won't come to the campus. Now, to increase this company's count and to increase opportunities, definitely we had to this time, sort of accept whatever they offered. But in the upcoming year, CDC is taking a very tough stand. We are now very competent with other IITs as well. And we also have a complete idea of what number of companies we could expect. So I guess this will help us further.
And in the pre-day zero itself, most of the SCPTs were unplaced. We were worried about ki placement hoga ki nahi. But it was tough for us being an SCPT and unplaced. But we managed it well. And
preparing for their own tests as well as
yes.
yes.
And
They were very motivated.
Yeah. And adding to this point, one other thing that we have taken note of is that the training for the placement volunteers who work for us in day 0 and day 1, that training did not take place sufficiently. Like, we did not have much time to train them, owing to just the reshuffling, as ma'am has aptly told about. So that's also one thing that we have taken note of, and the next year we'll be making sure that the training takes place as intended.
Also, secondly, there was another common problem which students faced and were complaining about it, is that students who got shortlisted in multiple companies, that was a problem, that they were not able to give all the interviews. So see, those problems, actually we had only a 12-hour slot, which were basically in day 0 we had 2 slots of 12 hours. So see, the thing here is that we and our volunteers tried to optimize the best we could. But ultimately, the choice and the option happens on that day. Yes, we optimized, we had trackers, we had everything planned. But again, the boom was there, we were experiencing it for the first time. And the second team which will be there of SCPT, it will be more experienced to do this, that is for sure.
Yes, frankly speaking, 2022 we could not do it completely. It was partial. 80% of it was done manually. It was our office did a wonderful job handling that volume of traffic for data, etc. So 2023 we have already onboarded, and we plan to do it this time. We have sufficient time to execute, and we also had training sessions. That platform is good enough to handle most of our cycles, and we plan to extend it for the next 2 years also. And also, I would like to pose this as a challenge for the coming batches to develop their own software from 2025 onwards. So that's what our long-term plan. So definitely we'll try to move away from the WhatsApp. So we were using WhatsApp groups also for communicating lots of. So many of these things can be systematized over the automation platform. Okay, our SCPT team was actually very enthusiastic about that record-breaking figures that happened. So I think that record-breaking numbers, definitely in terms of the number of companies, in terms of the total number of offers, in terms of total number of students placed, and the speed at which happened, everything was record-breaking this time. But yes, I think one reason was that we started early. So that is true for any success of any job. That we have to start early. That was there, but beside that, what we did we made a profile analysis of the company. We did not assign the slots only on the basis of CTC alone. It's just arranging them in ascending order and giving them a 1.1, 1.2 slot. So we took many factors into account, and along with the SCPT, we had regular discussions about, they presented the parameters. So there were several parameters based on which we actually gave them the slot. So they were based on their rapport with the institute and the profile, and we had a lot of discussion with the HRs to understand their underlying current, what is their need, because some companies, they needed that time a large number of students and some less. So even for the same company, for different roles, we gave them in different slots, even for different days. We pushed some of them into the later than December 2 also. So that little bit of research analysis we did based on the communication. So that effort, some SCPTs as well as the CDC faculty, we took that. It was little bit hard work, but that helped us to make the slotting little bit, based on and some analysis. So just not randomly placing them. So and the core companies we put, even though they had a relatively lower CTC, still we put them on the proper slots, because we understand the job profile. It's always not about the bonus they give and those things. So I think that was one of the reasons. Of course, we did that slotting little bit, intelligent decision making went.
And of course, there was a, you can say, natural, post-lockdown boom which we were observing.
Yes, that's obvious.
So that also resulted in a large amount of companies.
Yeah, no, this happened for the entire country, I think, this time.
Yeah.
And another thing, one positive side which we had for IIT Dhanbad specifically is that hybrid use of online mode. We had international offers coming in just because of online accessibility of interviews. Even the companies which would earlier not travel to Dhanbad because of logistical difficulties were now able to travel because they had an option of online interviews as well.
So COVID was a blessing in disguise actually for this aspect.
Yeah. And also many companies previously visited for only the BTech people itself, but this time many research core companies visited for the MTech and also for the PhDs, few companies. So because of that one, also due to number of students being more compared to other IITs, we have seen such visits from the company.
Phase 2, I think the speed in which the numbers of students are getting placed. So that is the reasonably, it's keeping up the pace. I think, what's the number as on date? I think it's more than 850 plus.
Yes, ma'am. Till now we have about 990 as on 20th January.
As on 990 offers, na?
Yeah, we had around 990 offers, and of course it's going very well. Actually, we did not expect, and we were, thinking to wrap up phase 1 at 9th December at one point. But we eventually had to stop.
Almost till 31st December, we couldn't even get the Christmas break. So even we wanted to stop at 24th December, but there were so many companies, and some companies they came they came for hiring. Even when they closed for phase 1, they came. They are still coming in the phase 2 because they still want some more students too. So that is also happening for a couple of companies. They are coming for different roles, of course, but another role, or sometimes for some same role but with little bit of different job profile and all those things. So that is keeping on coming, and in phase 2, we are taking a special care of the MTech students. So what we have done is that we are sending now customized invitations to some of the R&D based companies specific to a department. So different, we are gathering the data from the, individual departments and trying to invite these letters on especially department wise, so that they have an idea about what are the the software and the type of research labs they are exposed to. So in phase 2, we are trying to, MTech is definitely a little bit difficult because of the situation in the, in our country, the number of MTech jobs is relatively less. But then this time I think it is better, it is an improvement on their statistics. Definitely some very good, a few students, PhD students have got very good teaching offers. So that is also, I think, is going to pick up in the coming session in phase 2. And it's going quite, every day on an average we have about 5 to 10 students or 2 to 3 companies on an average, 2 to 3 companies on a regular basis, they are holding interviews. Or
if you ask students currently participating in phase 2, they are still receiving the preference forms, like which company to prefer. So that is itself a testimony to how the phase 2 is going.
And another point, phase 2 is still having packages in the range of 20 lakhs. It's not that phase 2 is going only for mass companies and all. It's not that. Yesterday only another company registered on the average package in the range of 20 lakhs. And so it's quite, in terms of CTC also, it's, some of the students are luckier to be placed in phase 2. Core placements, of course, it's nothing new. I think it's the statistics has been a standard one, that the core placements usually is much less than the non-core ones because of the nature of the job profile in the country today. But then this time it was not that bad. I think we had close to 50, 47, yes. It's the exact number is 47. So we had around 47 offers from core companies. And we also put the core companies in the day zero itself, even though in terms of CTC they were not competing. And it was good to see that students giving first preference to core companies rather than the e-commerce ones and all, even though the pay was more. And yes,
I think every core company is different, so they need to be approached very specifically. Also, I think we need to bring back the tradition of industrial visits and training so that the students' interest in the core sector is amplified. I think that will help. That will push the students towards the core sector, and that we are, as told by ma'am, we had 47 students placed in the core sector in phase 1. And we are working on it. We are building relations with the core companies, and it will get better in coming times.
Because students normally they are not exposed to the core companies, and that will, as Ishita was saying, it's very important to revive that industrial training. So little bit, because of the pandemic situation, many things stopped for the last 2 summers. So that could have affected a little bit, but I'm sure things will be better. One more point regarding the internships that I find is that in the next batch onwards, because the CBCS is going to be effective, so internship option is available for 1 full semester for some of the students going for 5 years extension. For some of the students going for 5-year extensions, I guess like double major, dual degree, and even the MTechs. So there they have the provision of 6 months internship, where this industry visits can prove to be very useful, and especially some sort of collaboration with the departments we did carry out from the CDC, and that helped in the job profile for some MTech and PhD students in mechanical engineering department. So this thing can be extended. Advantage can be taken for the extending this to even for UG students whenever, and the current curriculum allows even for these batches to do 2 internships. So we are allowing them at the end of 6th semester, again at the end of 8th semester, so that they get 2 summer vacations for carrying out these internships. So we are working more on improving these policies. We were also talking about this integrated internships, where continued internships can take place at the end of 2nd year also for normally UG students. So these kind of internship definitely is a way to improve the placement. And in core especially, unless the students are exposed to the actual the manufacturing unit, and especially on a face-to-face basis, if they don't see it, so that is going to help. And definitely we are going to seek the help of the departments in making more such industry collaboration. Research part, definitely some students are geared towards taking up a career in research. So for these students, of course, internship is an option. They can go to the universities and different other, we have a very excellent scheme of this MITAX going on, where every year, this time I think about 11 students have already have got this opportunity for different universities in Canada. So similarly, we are actually planning for, because every industry has got an R&D unit. So for example, TCS, IBM, Samsung and some others, specifically we had discussion with their HR teams. It's beyond placement. So it's about having a research collaboration in which even with Wipro R&D. So we had a talk with in terms of research, because some students, we give them continuously, they are mentored by these industries on actually live industry projects and some practical problem solving within a limited duration that can happen in the summer vacation or may extend beyond that. So that kind of situation, and they encouraged, I mean, they were quite enthusiastic about it to maybe, so they're also, because industry also have to change their policies. So instead of just going for an internship and a PPO, so we are trying to extend it for that, and definitely we are working. TCS was very enthusiastic about it. They said they'll be giving actual problems. So what we don't want is that, for example, a mechanical engineering student should be given a coding problem in the domain of mechanical engineering. So what happens is that there the research aspect will also be there, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of innovation will come through it. So we are working on it, and we hope that definitely. And Indotech collaboration has recently happened, and through Indotech collaboration, a large number of companies are offering internships with Japanese companies, and most of them are core companies working on actually R&D problems. So that is also open to all the engineering graduates. So there also we have actually discussed it with their team. We had a couple of meetings with their technical team, with actually the CEOs of their companies. So they said we are going to give live industry problems, and they have even given us a portal, automated portal for it. So this time about close to 20 companies have already registered, Japanese companies. So they are working on very much research oriented problems. So definitely our students are going to benefit in the shortly, maybe in a couple of months or years.
Also, you guys are also witnessing this year the ambassador programs being carried out at our campus. Like we had Intel ambassador programs, which includes one of the PIC student from your batches itself. And then there is a research discussion, and very good environment of research is being created. So we are also collaborating with other such companies and corporates in future.
Actually, we didn't see much companies not visiting for placement. There were only 4 to 5, and one reason it was like companies were adopting to the PPO based full-time hiring, and other reason was they were preferring to go with the hackathons and hire great people, and other reason it was ki few companies have filled up their positions, all the roles in the before the December itself.
Yeah.
So they were not able to visit.
It's
Not
only,
because
it's
the
only
laws
actually
of-
only the few most of the new IITs, they are permitted to conduct their placements before 1st December. So between September and many of the other colleges, including NITs and also between September to November, many of the companies already finish up their hiring needs. So it's their policies, and they keep some positions for the what they call this December hiring. So that could be one, and we come in the December part. So we do not allow any interviews to happen before December 1st. So, but then still most of the companies, most of the companies, and this time we had a very record-breaking internships also this year. So we are expecting, compared, it's almost 180 or kuch figure tha na, 180
on the day zero itself 160.
if I remember, it's 180 around 180.
Yeah, definitely.
This time we had some record-breaking figures of day zero was definitely record-breaking in terms of 42 companies. I think, I mean, most of the other IITs, as far as my knowledge says, it's not more than 35 or something. In the range of 30 to 35 was there in most of the IITs. But we incidentally could handle 42 companies on the December 1st, that is day zero. So that was, in the 42 companies, there were total about 290 offers, and leading to 253 jobs, isn't it? 250 jobs and 290 offers. That was indeed, I mean, first time this happened. And in order to keep up this traffic and in order to sustain this, because and we had a very good response. The feedback of the companies was also quite good, and they were much more eager. And in fact, some of the companies were upset they did not get the numbers. So after the interviews, they were actually called me. They said, yeah, we wanted to at least this much, but because of our single job policy, we could not give them. So what we guess is that we have to sustain this. And one place that we actually failed was in the number of SCPT members. And what was happening is that the 16 of them, each one of them was overloaded with work, and all of them were doing everything. So then we had post December, we had a very good brainstorming session, and we have decided to go for we predicted that at least next year onwards, if this hopefully this will sustain, or even if it doesn't sustain, but we have to do it very systematically, and for that we need at least 50 to 60 SCPT members minimum. So we are trying to structure that in a little bit more hierarchy, where we are going to include the second years and third years. So that kind of, I think, can you tell the elaborate plans about it, the structure? Functionally also, we are going to separate.
So we would like to do that. Actually, as we were the SCPT joined in the June, and we were working from there till the December. Actually, for every day we need to give for the 2 to 3 hours per day for the SCPT or CDC work. But 2 to 3 hours, all the candidates were doing all the things. So currently, we would not like to do that because it would be more hard work than being the efficient. So we brought up the structuring in the team. So what we basically thought of looking into the other IITs, IIT Guwahati, IIT Kharagpur, Kanpur, and also Delhi. The 5 basic teams, it will be company communications, who will be looking to communicate with the companies, and other team, it would be the research and development team. And this because our alumni is more stronger than compared to all other IITs, not the top 7 compared to new and the 2008 IITs. That R&D team will be focusing on that one, and other one, it will be comparing with the other IITs companies that visit them. They will be researching on that part. That is about the R&D team.
Survey of the market is very essential. Yes.
R&D team will focus on that one, and other team also regarding the analytics and design team, where they will be tracking all the number of placed students, all those things, and also preparing the posters and the brochures for the CDC or the SCPT work to communicate with the companies. And other, it was the SD team, and it is regarding the JNF portal we are building out. And other was logistics. Why it was built? Because we are not sure ki next time it would be offline or online. If it goes online, logistics team is much important for us.
So the logistic of the even online is equally hectic to arrange the logistics of this is.
It is very hectic, but we focused on that. And looking into the 5 teams, we are also having the core team, the team lead for every team, who will be discussing with the faculty for the faster decision making of the faculty, because we have observed very slow decision making. Because when ma'am used to come with us, she used to come to once with me, once with Akash and other Akshay. But the faster decision was difficult for us. So on that one, we have built a core team, where
instead of haphazard communication, it should be a very systematic communication, and the follow-up, because what happens when you call a person, he doesn't pick up. So then if you forget it in the next day, and then sometimes it happens the other way around also. So it is the haphazardness has to be removed. So that is what we are planning in the new SCP. This time also we are trying to, the companies will be filling up the JNF on the portal. So that is also, we are announcing a CDC hackathon specially. And
we'll be launching it soon.
We'll be launching it soon for building up that portal. So that will be, definitely it will actually improve the efficiency. Because a lot of, manual work was going, 70% of the work will be actually saved actually, isn't it? If the portal starts functioning. So I hope the hackathon is successful. We are going to do it in February.
Yes, we have a plan of conducting the entire
next
hackathon on
first week
15
of
days.
February.
Right. Within the next 15 days, we'll be organizing a hackathon. See, the process currently is that we send invite mails to the companies. They then revert back with the JNF. So in the entire process, we have identified certain loopholes, and we have worked on it, and we thought of organizing a hackathon. This hackathon will cater to primarily creating a company registration portal. Companies and their HRs will be able to register on this portal and fill their JNFs or INFs as required. Then, so basically what we are planning to do is that the portion about till filling the JNF, the company communication till filling the JNF part will be handled by our portal, the portal which is going to be developed through the hackathon. After the JNF and INF is there in our hand, we can delegate the entire task to SuperSet. So currently this is the plan. We are thinking of implementing this strategy in 2023, the next year. Let's see how it works out. We are quite optimistic about it, about the hackathon product, and working with SuperSet for this thing. Let's see how it plans out.
And we are expecting students to do well in the hackathon, because it is much important for us and you as well to do the process easily.
Yeah, and we'll be selecting the next team also based on their performance. Maybe that could be used as a performance criteria.
The winners of this hackathon,
So even if they don't win, they have a chance. Straightforward, they can be shortlisted for this. So we are having those plans.
And the winners of the hackathon will be part of the SD team in the what is SCPT?
Yes,
We
and
will
not only
maintain
that,
portal.
the runners of this hackathon will get recommendations for SCPT recruitments.
Yeah.
That's also something we are planning on.
Talking about the policies, so we have very exciting policies coming up, and I think you guys will be very excited to hear it. We are planning, so the very first thing we are going to do is the deferred placement policy program, wherein we will be giving you the chance, seeing the startup culture booming in our campus as well, we will be giving you the chance to defer your placement by 2 years, which will be like, normally what happens is you sit in the placements in final year. But even after graduating, you will have the chance to sit in the placements after 1 or 2 years in case your startup does not work well. So all the policies and guidelines are sure to come. Another thing, a great policy coming around is the summer semester in our courses is basically a backlog semester right now. This summer semester, we are extending it that you could even complete your credits before the actual classes begin. And you could use that time for wherein the course credits are used. You could use that time in your doing internships, and department-based internships will also be allowed in that case. Okay, and third, we are also refining our CTC policies. We know the loopholes, and we also know the upcoming difficulties which we are going to face with the CBCS system. We'll be, we'll be synthesizing all in a manual, in a CDC manual, which will cater you for long.
Yeah, we are also planning for this. PSUs. What is observed is that PSUs, they usually come around January, February. So they are not able to participate due to the, whatever is their structure. Most of the PSUs, this is a trend that they will come later, much later. So for example, January, February, by the time the GATE results are announced. So what happens is that by the time most of the students, this time there are hardly any good students left to sit for the PSUs. 1 or 2, Gale is yet to come, they've already filled it up. So therefore we are planning that we will give a chance maybe. We'll of course put some criteria that only for PSUs, maybe some students may be allowed to sit for the core PSUs. If it's a core PSU coming later than December after this, so we may give a chance of 2 jobs. But we'll definitely put some academic CGPA criteria over there, definitely, so that otherwise the whole thing will become a little bit chaotic to manage.
It's on our table of discussion, and we are yet to lay out the guidelines. But yeah, that PSU companies would be given a premier slot if policies go that way.
So that next batch may be, getting the benefit of it, probably.
Dean era wala portal hai kya?
Yeah. Another thing, yes, I remember. Another thing that we are planning is, of course, once this JNF portal is going to be stabilized through the hackathon, another thing that we have recently integrated with the ERA cell, the Alumni Affairs cell. So, because CDC normally gets a lot of requests from companies for hiring recently pass out students as well as with 2 to 5 years experience. This is a typical statistics of the males I was studying. So what we are planning is that we have had a talk with the ERA section, and director was also very encouraging about it, that we are planning to open a job board on the alumni cell where our alumni will get the option to post the job as well as they can get for finding a job. So both ways, and referring each other for this kind of job beyond 2 years experience, between 2 to 5 years, because that's the time a lot of people actually change jobs, or even they may switch to university higher education. And CDC is going to be in loop with that, because we also get in our alumni network also gets much stronger by that. We also get to track our alumni, because most of you start changing job after a couple of years. So that actually we get updated, because you see, alumni is the foundation on which our placement of any institute is based. So we would like to strengthen that. That's one thing.
Basically, not only in the college, CTC will assist you even after you graduate.
Yeah, so that's the thing. And also we are already opening up some training services. Specifically, I think Cantilever had a very successful session, but they started a little bit late. In November we could start. So because the other procedures are involved. Talleyrand has been recently started. They are mainly focusing on soft skills and interviewing skills and preparing how to prepare. So mainly for MBA students have very much enthusiastic to join it. And we have a response, close to 500 students we have already taken, they've given the the consent to actually go for this training, and CDC is partially supporting it, so that the students are serious, because there are many students who will just enroll and then not take it seriously. So we are planning it to do in parts. Financially, the fees will be borne by the CDC. So about 70% CDC will bear, 30% the students have to bear, some of that sort we are planning, depending on the fees. So Coding Ninjas has also made a MOU with us. Some Japanese companies, one of the very good online coding platforms of Japan, I think Propel, they have also, they are providing it for free only. So we are with some good training services, we are partnering with them. And for training, whoever is interested sits on the, I hope that programs will also be a quite success. And they also help us to connect, to some good HR and openings, which happened. We actually professionally, there are some of the people are providing us HR contacts. So it helped, for at least 4-5 companies we could pitch through those sources, the training services. Okay, so that is also one way we want to explore in improving the placement stats.
And also keeping in mind the in-house language platform which we have, we are also in scene of international companies which are visiting this year. We have an in-campus language labs. We are also collaborating with it to develop the international language speaking skills of students on campus.
First of all, a big congratulations, and definitely the numbers were this time. It was encouraging for everyone, all of us. It made actually many people happy, and the parents were actually very happy. Many of the parents personally called. So in the pandemic time, so many students were given good offers. So, but my message is that, of course, each one of you should know your strengths and weaknesses. So this is not placement is not the end of it or beginning of anything. It's the education is something and placement is something. So first of all, I would give a message: even though you are placed, your learning should not stop, and that should continue. That is big thing. And your performance in the industry, not only in your professional performance, the way you behave. So that also matters. Yeah, and you should, the feedback is important about the company, the good and bad of it. That should be made known to the junior batches. And most of you might be changing jobs, or you are already into some other off campus. But that, that rapport should be maintained whenever you are getting a job through the institute, because you have to think about the next batches. So that is very important for the placed students. And the unplaced students, I don't think that many will remain unplaced very soon. And some of them will land up they'll prove to be luckier, as I was telling you, in phase 2. They could get some PSUs may arrive, which are expected. So there's nothing to call unplaced. I think all of you will be placed by the end of April. We are expecting still there are large number of companies approaching us. Another important thing that is very important, we were just playing with seeing the statistics, and we found that 7+ CGPA, I think 90% of the students are placed. Many of the students could not sit on the companies, although they were because of their low CGPA, because they could not cross that 7+. So we had to make, and it doesn't look nice when we keep on requesting them to lower the CGPA. So 6 to 7 CGPA, I think beyond that, only 60% of the students got placed. So the number speaks. So now all of you realize the importance of studying and maintaining a good CGPA. Okay, so that is one thing that I would say, and I'm sure I think more opportunities will come. So it's just the beginning of your journey. So there's nothing of any negative situation will not come, I think. Sure. So the current SCPT is definitely, I will say, it's a special batch, because they have made that 253 happen, and so they have putting it as a challenge to the next batch to see if you can actually break their record. So I sincerely, first of all, I would like to thank them. They have really worked hard. They have worked so hard. There were sleepless nights managing the whole, managing so many companies, close to 200 companies, all the processes. They really did a fantastic job in terms of physical work, not only physical work. It was a lot of, a lot of mental work goes into the planning, and then when things go wrong, everything has to be managed dynamically. Online tests failing, this person not getting the link, and there were so many problems. I think they'll be able to tell you better, but they kept their cool, and sometimes they even kept me cool also. because situations were, so they said, okay, chill, ma'am, chill, everything will be okay. So they were really very supportive team, and but there is a lot to learn and lot to teach. So I tell them that leadership is about making new leaders. So I really want them that they are able to prepare the next 2 batches and currently form the new SCPT team. We are targeting it by middle of February. The new SCPT team will be formed, and I would like them to pass the whatever they have learned, their experience, because there's nothing like experience. So that experience should pass on to the next batches, so they are able to maintain the figure, and then we are able to sustain the success of our placements, and especially the image of our institute, the name. Okay, so that is carried. So, and SCPT is a real hard work. So let me just be very clear. So to the next aspirants who want to, it's not a easy job. Really, some people actually they drop off in between, okay, because they are not able to sustain that hard work you have to do, and they have their own academics, they have their quiz, everything to handle. So yeah, you have to be very dynamic, very hardworking, and they really did it. So of course there were some places that they also were they were getting exhausted. So by December 2 and 3 they were really tired. So I wish that, because the number will increase, so they need a lot of volunteers. So the volunteers could be trained quite late. So we want that to happen a little bit early. And I'm sure I really wish that they just pass on the experience to the next batches.